Ladies and gentlemen, big news. Not breaking, but one thing has broken, and that's Manchester United. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to like the video because I need it. I kind of do need it, but I can't do it without you guys. But thank you for the support anyway. But speaking about breaking, the one thing that broke today was Manchester United. And guess who broke them? None other than Marco Silva's Fulham. Manchester United knocked out of the FA Cup at home to Fulham in a penalty shootout. What can you say? What more can you say? It's going to be another season of disappointment for Manchester United, especially after the wide success of last season with the FA Cup victory. Not wide success, but, you get the gist of what I'm saying. They were underdogs going into the final and they had lost the final the year before, and winning it was so massive for them. And unfortunately, there won't be no League Cup this season. There won't be no FA Cup this season. They're still in the Europa League, but even that looks very, very unlikely the way they are going at the moment. But you have to be honest, it was a brilliant kind of tactical display from Fulham. I think they were under the cosh for a while, but they got what they wanted. They took us extra time and they won on penalties. And in a penalty shootout, it's anybody's game. And it seemed to be destined that Fulham were going to win. Everything was written towards a Fulham victory. You had Arsenal players playing for Fulham, former Arsenal players. You had an Arsenal keeper, former Arsenal keeper, saving 2 penalties to knock Manchester United out. And it's quite ironic because in the previous round, it was actually Manchester United who beat Arsenal on penalties at the Emirates to knock them out. So sometimes I think somebody's writing these scripts, but it is football, and that is the beautiful game for you. Anyone can be anyone, penalty shootout or full time, whatever it is. You can beat anybody if you play well. And Fulham executed their game plan muy perfecto, to perfection. But look, we have to talk about Manchester United because Fulham are, looking likely that they're going to make an FA Cup final. I don't know who they've actually drawn. Let me have a look for you. So Fulham have drawn Crystal Palace in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Should be a win. They have a home tie as well, and they could be making the FA Cup semi-finals. But let's talk about Manchester United, and I want to talk specifically about Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. Look, I'm a big fan of Ruben Amorim. I like his principles, I like his style of play, and I like the way he, rips up the game plan and, wants to demonstrate his authority on the team, put his blueprint on the side. And I think he's trying to do that with this Manchester United side. You've got Maguire, you've got De Ligt, you've got the back three, you've got the wing backs with Dalot, Mazraoui, he's got Garnacho in there, Xerxes, he's got a lot of players in there that can, improve. And I think as well at this moment with United, I don't think he's won many games. And this is probably his worst result in terms of, it was a very winnable trophy. You only got Manchester City, Bournemouth, maybe Newcastle are out now. But you saw last season, this same Manchester United squad were able to win the FA Cup. And this was also a very, very winnable FA Cup for them. City are not as great as they were, and obviously the experience of United being there and doing that would have helped them, but obviously they weren't able to capitalize on that. And I think that's what's unfortunate the most for Ruben Amorim's United, that they weren't able to, better last season, or maybe match or even get close to matching it. 5th round for them is not good enough, especially when you're at home against Fulham, who are a decent Premier League side. And they obviously are better than Manchester United at this moment in time. But you've got the Old Trafford faithful behind you. You've got a chance in front of your home crowd to beat a team and put down a marker, especially a team that you beat already early in the season at Old Trafford on the opening day. So, albeit that was a while ago, but still, there should be some sort of, optimism that, we can do this. We won it last season with the holders. We've had some great results in the FA Cup, beating City, beating Liverpool, etc., winning at the Emirates. So this could have been a real marker for United, but it just didn't happen to be so. Going 1-0 down to a Calvin Bassey goal, not looking like they're going to really threaten the goal. And then obviously Bruno Fernandes produces a moment of magic, and that's what quality players can do. But sometimes it's not enough relying on just one individual player. And that's what ultimately cost United today. Because penalty shootouts, anyone can beat anyone. You don't have to be a better team per se over the 90 minutes to win a penalty shootout in the FA Cup. You don't even need to be the better team in the game to win penalty shootout. You can take it all the way to penalties and somehow salvage a win somehow, or not salvage, but scam a win. I'm not saying scam is probably a bad word to use, but obviously not playing well and not expected to win and still somehow getting a result. And maybe that's what Fulham did today. But I thought Fulham were decent in spells. But look, you have to expect better. I know Ruben Amorim's come into a team that are in a complete, dire state. And they were in a dire state under Eric Ten Hag. But these are not bad players. You don't become a bad team overnight. And I don't think you're never as far as you think. And I know this very, very well as a Liverpool supporter. And I speak to a lot of Arsenal fans and I say the same thing. You're never as far as you really think. Maybe it's a couple of additions, maybe it's the manager, maybe it's something, but they've changed it all. But unless Man United don't properly invest in this team, they're not going to be able to compete. They won't. They don't have the quality, unfortunately, as a whole. They have individually some players that are of, real quality, but not really somebody that shines and you think, wow, like a Salah, De Bruyne, Haaland, Saka kind of level. And that's the difference. You could argue Bruno Fernandes, but is it really enough to just carry on relying on one player? I don't think so. And look, Ruben Amorim, it's kind of a free-for-all for him this season. He kind of has to just try to implement his style of play. And obviously, his hope is probably by next season they've played this style so much that they're able to just, be composed, and with some of the additions he's able to make, he can kind of, implement his style properly on his team. But you have to question him as well, and I don't want to, because he's been in the job for such a short space of time, and I think he's a quality manager, no doubt. And I'm not going to ridicule him or laugh at him, because that's not the type of football fan I am. I like to obviously just analyze things correctly and properly, and give everybody a reason as to why this may be going wrong, and I give 1,000 excuses for someone. Well, not excuses, reasons as to why maybe it won't be going your way or won't be going the direction that you want it to go in. And maybe for Ruben Amorim it is personnel. Maybe for Ruben Amorim it is there's too many personalities. Maybe for Ruben Amorim is he hasn't got his style of players. Maybe for Ruben Amorim is the job's too big for him. It's a lot of questions, but he hasn't really improved United. I'll be so honest with you. Yeah, look, he's beaten City at the Etihad. He's got a draw at Anfield, and he's beaten Arsenal on penalties in the FA Cup. Other than that, I don't really see where the lights have shone through for Ruben Amorim's United. And maybe he is to blame, but sometimes you just have to adapt to the players you have, rather than trying to constantly implement a style of play that is not going to work with the players that you have. And I don't want to call it naive, because I think it will eventually work. And I do understand why it's happening, so that these players are ready, or, the core is ready for when the next season arrives. So this season is kind of just an experiment, because they know they're not competing for anything, but they still had the FA Cup. They still have the Europa League. There's still stuff that they were able to compete for. And now the FA Cup is no longer there. And you can't sabotage a season just to kind of, show everybody how bad you think your players are, or you don't think these players can play that style. Because it's just gonna put you in a bad frame in the fan base, and you don't want that, especially for a Man United crowd that have been crying out for success since Alex Ferguson left off. Sir Alex, since kind of he left the football club and really challenged for the Premier Leagues and the Champions League. They haven't really done that since about 2013 or so, United, and in the Champions League a bit further. So you have to kind of look at the bigger picture, and you have to look at the players that you have and play a system that suits the players. And maybe some of the players that he's got suit that system, but not all of them do. And maybe the system, if maybe he wants to play a 4 at back, a 5 back, I don't know what he wants to do, Ruben Amorim. But he's implementing with his three at the back with wing backs. And if he wants to play that style, that's fine. But it's obviously not working, because they're not coning out results that they should be getting. And ultimately, we know how the story goes with United. Look how many managers they've let go over the last 10 years or so. You had David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Ryan Giggs was in charge for a bit, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralph Rangnick, Eric Ten Hag, and now you had Ruud van Nistelrooy in interim charge. Michael Carrick had a little stint as well, but there's been so many coaches, and Ruben Amorim is just going to be one of those domino effect of managers that have just been let go if he doesn't do a good job. And I really hope he does, because I think he's a good coach, and not for, I'm speaking more as a football fan. The quality of this league will improve if Man United, increase in level, and you always want to be able to compete against the best teams to showcase how good your own team is. And that's not me saying I want Man United to do well. That's not what I'm saying. I want to have this league as strong as possible, and having the best team, having all the eyes, having the best coaches, because that's how you and if Liverpool were to win the league, or City to win the league, or Chelsea to win the league, and they're very, very difficult, and there's like 7 teams trying to win the title, that would kind of put your team in a higher light and a higher basis. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't want Man United to do well as a Liverpool supporter. But as a football fan, you want your league to be the league you're in to be as strong as possible because you want eyes to be on your league. You want more quality players coming to your club. You want more eyes on your club. You want your club to make the most revenue possible. And United had an opportunity to, really win a trophy that they won last season. And football is a humbler sometimes, and unfortunately United weren't able to capitalize on what should have been not a fairly comfortable victory, but a victory at home. Even on penalties they should have won, but Fulham did their homework and it seemed to have paid off. United still have the Europa League to pay for. I think that's what you need to understand. They still have the Europa League, but you look at Lazio, you look at Athletic Bilbao, you look at Tottenham in that competition. There is some quality teams in there that will be vowing for that Europa League trophy. But something needs to change because this is gonna end sour. And I've seen this story, and I think we've seen this story too many times. But get your comments in below. Man United out of the FA Cup. Is their season over, or can they still win the Europa League? Loads of questions. You guys give me the answers. See you in the next one.